Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanim. Holy smokes, we have a lot more great activity, insane activity too. You seeing what's happening with the banks right now? Don't worry, we're gonna get into that. This article here, before we get into the the fall of the bank system, the legacy system, that's gonna make them hand that money right over to us. Just my humble opinion. This article here is from the cryptobasic.com. How you all doing today? Hope you're having a great Sunday out there. It's titled Expert says XRP high price would become necessity as demand grows. I won't only say necessity. I'd also add in there, I think it's inevitable. If you look at what could possibly be moved, right? Which, by the way, check out that members only video I just dropped. I think that's one of my best in a long time. If seeing is believing, just take a look with your own eyes at the information there, and then you tell me how it's not inevitable that that price goes up. But that's just my humble opinion. It's not financial advice. But let's read this little tidbit here. It says, Versan Al-Jara, the founder of Black Swan Capitalist, took to Twitter to assert a claim the XRP community has supposedly been championing for nearly 2 years. According to Al-Jara, the argument is that the prevailing affordable price of XRP cannot endure. Well, I'll say this, it's not the community supposedly has been championing this. I think it came directly from David Schwartz. He said himself, the designer of the XRPL, that XRP cannot be dirt cheap. Now that's a little bit obtuse. I know it leaves a lot open to interpretation, but I mean, I think $1 is dirt cheap. I think $2 is dirt cheap. I think $3 is dirt cheap. If you're trying to send massive interbank payments, you're doing that every single day, right? And I'm just taking interbank payments. We're not even talking about the tokenization of everything on the XRPL. We're not even talking about the smaller commercial banks on the XRPL using XRP payment channels and such. I'm not even taking that into account. So if that is the case, I mean, there is absolutely no way. I just personally don't see how it would stay at a low price. I just don't see it. But let's continue on here. So the argument is that the prevailing affordable price of XRP, we read that part, quote, as the rest of the world finally catches on, the urgency of this message reverberates louder than ever, unquote. Al-Jara remarked. Well, I'll say this. Look, I guess I'm on the other side of the fence. At this point right now, I'm not concerned about the world finding out about XRP or regular individuals or retail at all, or any of the bank coins, right? There's nothing you can tell them that's going to bring them over and make them want to get some XR. That's not going to happen. I just don't see it happening. Many people have told me they have tried. Listen, I'm here for the banks. These are bank coins. Let those banks step in and then watch the magic happen. You know, that's just personally that's just my personal stance, right? It says, not enough XRP to meet growing demand. I was just talking about this. I was just saying this. It looks like a lot when you see it on paper. When you realize that there's going to be a ton of transactions, a ton of volume per day if everything goes according to plan. And on top of that, XRP has a burn mechanism. I saw somebody in the comment section asked about that the other day. Yes, the XRPL has a burn mechanism. So you're going to get tons and tons of XRP being burned, which also is going to push that price up. There's not enough. If you look at how many banks have shown interest in XRP or the XRPL or partner with Ripple, and it all leads, if they're going to partner with Ripple or Volante or anybody building on the XRPL, then that leads back to XRP, their absolute best product that everyone has praised from top banks to the bottom. All right. And even ones who didn't praise XRP had to acknowledge the potency of it. So when you're thinking about it that way, I mean, sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. But let's continue on here. It says, according to him, the situation renders a higher price for XRP not just inevitable, but a necessity. Okay, so see, I said that as well. It's inevitable if you take in certain variables. I just think that's logical. It says, if everything goes according to plan, to maintain the essential liquidity required to meet this soaring demand. In his words, here's a quote. It says, quote, there simply isn't enough XRP. No, there's not. With as many banks Listen, and I'm just talking banks. I'm not even talking businesses that want to get a piece. There's not enough to go around. It's going to become very rare if everything continues on the trajectory. And right now, and I think I have an article here to prove it, the expansion of XRP, or XRPL rather, is happening at a breakneck pace. All right, let's continue on here. It says, quote, there simply isn't enough XRP to meet the ever-growing demand for its utility, making a high price not just an inevitability, but a necessity. Yeah, so it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, really. That's how I look at it. So now let's continue on here. All right. If you want to read the rest of that, they have a lot more here, actually. It's on the cryptobasic.com. They're doing a great job over there. But we're going to skip some of that and go to the next article because I want to get to this bank activity. So what happened with PacWest? The banks are in trouble. And that's good. That's a great thing for us. But look, just make sure. Look, I can't tell you what to do. I don't want to say make sure. I can't tell you what to do. I would make sure that my bank is healthy. I've said this time and time again. Make sure if you're using banks, make sure your bank is healthy. It takes a little phone call. You know, you have the right to do that. They're holding your capital, correct? Right? All right. I'm just putting it out there. You don't have to do anything I'm saying. It's not financial advice. This article here is from newsbitcoin.com. There's alarming activity happening. This article is titled, Another U.S. Bank Collapses. We saw what happened with PacWest. This is Heartland Tri-State Bank. Heartland Tri-State Bank has become the latest bank in the U.S. to fail. The Kansas banking regulator closed the bank and appointed the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, we know how this goes, as the receiver on Friday. A regional bank in the U.S., Heartland Tri-State Bank, was closed by the Kansas office of State Bank Commissioner on Friday. You see, and the other banks aren't going to want to share in this type of fate. They're scrambling as we speak. As you read all the documents, you see all the articles written. You know, you can just do searches on your own of the interest growing in the new financial system. Even Ripple, I think Ripple put out, was it them that put out a report like recently? There's a couple of blockchain companies that put out reports showing the interest. And I'm trying to think, there was a non-blockchain company that also put out some information on the interest, like the institutional interest in the bank coin blockchains in particular, or utility coins, really. I can't remember. I think it may have been BlackRock. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's either BlackRock. I don't think it was Blackstone. Anyway, let's continue on here. It says the regulator subsequently named the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as the receiver, quote, to protect depositors. Right. That was your job. But anyway, the FDIC entered into a purchase and assumption agreement with Dream First Bank, National Association of Syracuse, Kansas, to assume all the deposits of Heartland Tri-State Bank. Here's the problem. Now, I don't remember I read this about PacWest or Tri-State here, but I'm pretty sure that there's banks that have to absorb the commercial real estate loans that were weighing heavy on the other banks. So I don't see that as being a solution. You get where I'm going? It's sort of like a game of hot potato. Okay, I pass you this potato. It's still piping hot. We're all getting burnt now, tossing this hot potato around. But that's just how I see it. Maybe I see it incorrectly. Says the FDIC explained that Heartland Tri-State Bank had approximately $139 million in total assets and $130 million in total deposits as of March 31st. In addition to assuming all of the failed bank deposits, Dream First National Association, quote, agreed to purchase essentially all of the failed bank's assets, unquote, the FDIC detailed. The regulator added that 4 branches of Heartland Tri-State Bank will reopen as branches of Dream First Bank National Association on Monday under normal business hours. Interesting, isn't it? Several banks have failed in the U.S. this year. Oh, we know all about that. We're more concerned with the ones that are still at risk. They said hundreds upon hundreds are at risk. We're seeing them drop one by one. All right, so now we have another article. This one here is from Cointelegraph.com. And it's titled, Ripple Blockchain Could Save Financial Institutions $10 billion by 2030. They're underselling that greatly. Greatly. They always do. says among 300 financial professional survey, or we read that the other day, says blockchain has the potential to save financial institutions approximately $10 billion in cross-border payment costs by the year 2030. Wait a minute. You see, we're going to be covering all types of payments. That's what the CBDC platform is about. And they're not just going to use XRP just for cross-border payments. That's the thing of the past. Although that's going to bring us a lot of capital, that's just the base layer of what we do. Interbank payments, payroll, you see everything they're trying to do, tokenization. You can imagine how much that saves, businesses and such like that trying to move properties here and there. We're going to save them a lot more than $10 billion. They know that. That's one of the things that makes the bank coins so delicious to the big money companies, the banks, etc. So they're going to be gobbling up this technology. They already are, right? First, there was the phase where they praised the technology, then they were against it during the period where they were researching it, seeing if they could compete with us. Now they know that they cannot compete with us, right? You see what's going on with JP Morgan, how that worked out, right? They're having a lot of different problems over there. Just as an example, once again, check out that members only video, right? But between how much capital they can make utilizing the bank coins and how much capital they can save, we're going to have a tremendous victory in the future, in my humble opinion, when it comes to the bank coins. Because of that, it's inevitable. It says, published by digital payments network Ripple in collaboration with the United States Faster Payment Council on July 29th, the report surveyed, well, they reiterate that from the top. We already know all about that. Let's see if they have anything else here. In the survey, 50% of respondents believe that lower payment costs, both domestically and internationally, is crypto's primary benefit. That's ridiculous. Freeing up all of that nostro is I think all of the benefits are equal across the board. But lower costs, that's great. Traceability, you can't deny that they want traceability. That probably would be the top thing that they want, especially governments and central banks. Where's that money going? How are the people using it? I mean, even in the minds of the regular citizens and denizens of the world, the first thing that they think about when it comes to digital currencies is what? That traceability. Hey, we don't want to be traced or tracked, right? That's the primary, right? But they try to highlight things like this. Oh, lower cost. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's the primary. I don't think so. No. And we have a lot of benefits, which is why you have the IMF scrambling to learn as much as they can from Ripple, who's on their advisory board. You have the BIS scrambling to learn as much as they can from Stellar and Ripple, R3, etc. So then they end here with this quote. It says, quote, global cross-border payment flows are expected to reach $156 trillion. I just like to read that over and over just to emphasize the trillions are there. And that's just in cross-border payment flows. We have access, the potentiality to access much more than that. But we'll see how that's actuated in the future. I think we're going to take a good swath of that. And then what does it do to that price? Right. Okay. So now let's move on here to another article. We have a little Stellar news coming up in a chapter or two. So now this article, actually, we're going to skip an article. We're going to go right to the Stellar news. So this is a little bit of Stellar related news. This is huge. I told you a lot of these ways that they're using the bank coins, XRP, Stellar, it's just their starting point. Now they're beginning to tell you, and they're only telling you what I've been saying. It's just where they're beginning. It's not where they're going to end. This is from blockworks.co and it's titled Wisdom Tree to leave no stone unturned with a new blockchain native app. This is coming from their CEO. You understand what that means? You understand? It says fund group with $97 billion in assets says they have a, quote, ambitious product roadmap for latest Prime app as tokenization gains steam. And what's it built on? What's it running on? It's running on Stellar. People aren't seeing what's coming in the future. But let's hear what their CEO has to say. Wusdom Tree is seeking to take advantage of what its CEO called a, quote, early mover status in tokenization. On Stellar, following the launch of his blockchain-enabled consumer app. Executives at the firm, which manages roughly $97 billion, said expanding the reach and capabilities of the product released earlier this month is a major second half focus. The company first previewed its plans for the app Wusdom Tree Prime, which Stellar had posted everywhere, by the way, in January 2022. Upon launch, the app was available in 21 states, with the firm looking to add additional locations in coming months. Says here, let's scroll down. Says, quote, we will look to leverage our multi-year head start through additional products. That's the key here. We'll see how they're going to use it, what they're going to build next, what they're going to do next. It could get interesting very fast, folks. Very fast. Let's continue on here. It says through additional products with the Prime ecosystem, but also explore potential third-party distribution opportunities as well, unquote. Wusdom Tree CEO Jonathan Steinberg said on a Friday earnings call. Additional features such as peer-to-peer transfers and payments are in work. We'll see how it works and what mechanisms are going to be involved at that particular time. Bring that money right to us. Of course, I expect things to happen gradually over time, but this is significant in my humble opinion. It says Will Peck, Wusdom Tree's head of digital assets, noted the app's, quote, ambitious roadmap, unquote, though he shared few specifics. One focus is making U.S. floating rate notes or gold, quote, more like currency, unquote, allowing it to be more transactable via debit cards. Oh, they're very ambitious. Okay. I like where this is going. It says, for example, it says, while organic growth of retail users will be a focus, Steinberg said the company will explore business to business opportunities, B2B. All right. Listen, I told you Stellar was making some major moves with the people that they were bringing in, the companies that they were bringing in. So now we're going to move on to another article here. So I had a comment the other day. Someone said, you don't talk about XDC or something like that. I cover XDC every once in a while. I love XDC. They're one of the more brilliant projects out there amongst the bank coins. OK, and they have a brilliant team behind them. This is a tweet here from Zenfin. Right. It says XDC has partnered with IMDASG, Infocom Media Development Authority of Singapore, by completing the integration with Trade Trust Digital Utility. The hashtag Trade Trust framework connects governments and businesses to a public blockchain, tracing the source and verifying the authenticity of digitally issued documents. Additionally, XDC is launching a special purpose entity called XDC Trade Network, focused on interoperability of the MLETR solutions and providing liquidity for trade documents developed on the MLETR compliant solutions. They're making major moves, as I think anyone who knows about XDC and who believes in the project understands this is what they do. That's why I don't have to check on XDC much. I already know they're serious business. The same way I look at Quant, because of their brilliant team behind them, or Hedera as well. Lehman, Baird, Gilbert, Verdian, the brilliant minds behind Zenfin, XDC. When I think about them, I know I don't have to worry about anything at all. I don't have to check on them. I know they're making big deals, big partnerships. They're behind the scenes. They're shaking hands. They're working to upgrade their technology, make it the best of the best. And I expect big things out of them in the future. This is from Cointelegraph.com and it's titled Court Reverses SEC Ruling on Spikes Futures. Calls it, quote, arbitrary and capricious. Wow. Says the decision relates to an SEC order from 2020 exempting the Spikes Index from the definition of securities futures. Says the United States Securities and Exchange Commission suffered another setback on July 28th as the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit overturned a ruling by the regulator ordering that Spikes Index securities should be treated as futures rather than securities futures. The panel of judges called the SEC order, quote, arbitrary and capricious. The decision relates to an order from 2020 in which the SEC exempted Spikes Index, a stock volatility index, from the definition of securities futures, thus eliminating heavy taxes and other regulatory requirements attached to the term, quote, security, unquote. The relief, according to the SEC, was intended to promote competition among volatility index, which also shows that the courts are questioning the logic of the SEC. You have to understand these things have ripple effects. So a few judges say this, Judge Torres says what she said, and it's a ripple effect. Other judges hear that, and they retain that in their mind, in their subconscious, or at the forefront of their mind. So if ever the SEC has to go before them, they're going to have a very, very sharp eye on whatever it is the SEC is presenting, because their judgment is now in question by respected judges, right? All right, so I just wanted to put that on your table. And then also more banking problems. So while the Fed continues to put out documents and say that the banking system is sound and stable and such, which is ridiculous, by the way. This is from the dailyhodl.com and it's titled U.S. Banking Giant Accused of Abruptly Closing Accounts. We've read article after article over the last 2 months about a variety of banks doing the same thing. And now we have more. It says violating customers' rights as financial oversight investigation begins. Well, let's find out who's doing this. It says a U.S. financial giant and 2 British banks, wow, so this is a global thing, are reportedly being investigated over accusations that they have debanked clients over their political views. I don't know why they're doing it. This is what the article is saying, but nonetheless, it's a problem because a lot of people have been talking about this, okay? I've seen articles written on it, and I've seen the comment sections. You know how some of the articles have like comment sections? And the people are not happy about that. They're very concerned. And let me say this. This article is pointing you towards, well, they're saying that it's been closed because of political views. But other articles said that people were getting their accounts closed because of crypto transactions. That's what I wanted to get out. Crypto transactions. So the banks, so what I'm trying to paint the picture here of is these banks have been closing people's accounts for a myriad of reasons. But they shouldn't be closing people's accounts at all unless there's something nefarious going on, correct? The banking arm of American Express, as well as Metro Bank and Yorkshire Building of the UK, are being investigated by Her Majesty's HM Treasury amid increasing concern regarding politically motivated unbanking practices, reports the Telegraph. They have to key me into what proof they have of those particular motivations. As I said before, a lot of other banks have been taking actions allegedly because of crypto. The investigation centers on whether customers had their accounts wrongfully suspended and terminated, and the Telegraph cites several specific allegations that may be related to the investigation. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there and show the banking industry is having a lot of problems. Once again, new financial system coming in hot. Oh, man, legacy system, you have a lot on your plate. You really do. That's your problem, not mine. I'm just going to take your money. That's exactly what I'm going to do, right? So from marketwatch.com, and it's titled Dems, I guess Democrats give Fed veto power over crypto bills. Okay. Let's read this little tidbit here. See what they're talking about. So it begins with a quote from an individual named Torres. It says, I cannot for the life of me understand why we should give veto power to regulators over bipartisan regulation and compromise. I don't know why they would do that either. It says, unlike other areas of crypto policy, Democrats and Republicans agree on the need for stablecoin legislation. But according to Democratic Representative Richie Torres, okay, that's who this individual is, of New York, it's his party's excessive deference to the White House and financial regulators that has prevented a compromise. My apologies. Hopes for a broad bipartisan compromise on legislation regulating stablecoins were dashed Thursday after negotiations between Democrats and Republicans on the House Financial Services Committee broke down in dramatic fashion. stablecoin bill, which would have created a minimum standards for stablecoin reserves, mandated monthly disclosure reports, and set rules on how customers could redeem dollars for coins, had been the subject of the bipartisan negotiations ever since the White House called for Congress to regulate them in the fall of 2021. Then it says here, it says, quote, a bipartisan deal was within reach. We were closer than we've ever been, unquote. The Republican chairman of the House of Financial Services Committee said, quote, it was the White House's unwillingness to compromise that once again brought negotiations to a halt, unquote. The White House didn't respond to requests for a comment. So I don't know why. If they're supposed to make decisions, this has been something frustrating when it comes to crypto and the United States politics. You know, it's just they keep kicking the ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, we'll see how it works out. At least things are. It seems like maybe they're moving forward. I guess this is some type of forward momentum. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully, it gets something done. The rest of the world is moving forward. That I know. And people continue to leave the United States for greener pastures. Don't get me wrong. They got a property in the United States. And they got a property somewhere else. And they stay over there. Some of the people are getting dual citizenship and such. But let me tell you something. A lot of people are just leaving the United States. I said this before. We read a lot of articles about it. So, I mean, listen, if they want to lose a lot of their potent individuals, I'll say it like that, they can continue to drag their feet on these things. So, now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.